taking away a lot of points and placement every game, and then maybe one team, right? Maybe it's Zate's trio that ends up winning the game. Maybe it's Bucky, Creo, Kanata. One of these 5th to 15th place teams end up popping off. It's just no one can really stop the momentum of this top 5.
Guys, walk me through this last game. We were kind of talking about this right before it ended, and we set up some of the replays to kind of understand the complexity that is these NA East end games here in the finals. So let's break it down for our viewers.
Nice, we should. That last game was Weeping Woods, so there were kind of 2 different games going on, but don't get it confused. There were no tears in Weeping Woods. It was all smiles for both sides of the game. Zate, Stretch, and Saf got to play height. Everyone else got to stay in low ground until they met again in the 9th zone.
Yeah, and one of the things, we're mentioning a Weeping Wood zone. This makes high ground so much better because you can just build over these trees. Obviously, you can see that TSM, Safi, Stretch, and then Zate as well are obviously staying way higher than the trees now, but if they were closer to that, they could even harvest the materials as they go. And this also makes low ground a lot more shambles as well. A lot of the teams are fighting a lot closer. They're getting pushed together with all this foliage in their way.
But how did the #1 trio actually end up doing what they do? Why are they so good at height? This is it right here. It's large splits all the way on height. Check this out in just a moment. We have Stretch all the way at the back near zone, Saf making a new tarp entirely, and Zate going for action shots down below using shockwaves to meet back with the trio. Every time a new zone actually starts, they end up splitting. When that zone's about to close, they make sure they're together to stop any other shockwaves and make sure they can get together and form a game plan to go split again. Because of this, combined with the Weeping Woods trees, they got to stay alive and healthy at a cost though, Reese, as they only had 3 eliminations.
Yeah, only 3 eliminations is difficult because, like we said earlier, the Weeping Wood zone means that there's not as many opportunities to get eliminations on players down below. Now, these guys aren't teams who are typically popping off with 19 elims on height anyway, but Stretch still managed to pick up this fantastic one to finish it off there.
Yeah, look at how Stretch massacred my boy, except on the low ground with the big bouncer play, the godfathers of NA East, showing us how it's done in one of the hardest zones to navigate in the game from high ground.
That action shot made me just believe that it was like another Reese video, and I was super, like, for a moment I was actually lost in the sauce. I was like, wait, are we supposed to be talking? We're talking. That's what, but hey guys, guess what else we have for you? That is Brazil. They are done. We have FNCS champions over there, axes to give out. So let's crown new champions. Congratulations, Z-Truck, Frosty, and Ridley? Shy help.
Ridley, the beast is actually the operating word in that entire gamer tag because 3 victory royales, 251 points, and 84 elims. These guys put on a show and won Brazil.
And we have seen many of these names before, but the one that's kind of sticking out to me on top of this trio is Frosty. First in the FNCS Invitational. This guy is absolutely predominant during the FNCS Invitational, and he's come back around for a second time. Obviously not picking up the 2 in a row in the solo FNCS, but again, picking up the Axe of Champions one more time for the FNCS trios.
Yep, and they have a lot of earnings to go with them to be able to take home after a grueling entire process of, rounds to heats to qualifiers to grands. We have Rusty, King, and their trio also there in second. We saw how good they were overall in the quals. They'll be able to get there after a somewhat rough day #1. Past this, though, on the second page, Patty, and then we have Bagu and JPS. We were watching them during the quals as well. They were kind of in that 8th to 9th slot overall over and over again. They'll be similar also in the grand, so we're seeing some nice consistent gameplay. Brazil, though, a fun region to watch.
Very fun, very fun. Very good performances coming out of them. The qualifiers were great from King's trio, obviously dominant qualifiers, but that's not who picked up the first in the grand finals. Frosty's trio performing very, very well in these last 2 days.
And for their achievement, they will be crowned FNCS champions, being given the Axe of Champions, and be able to hold on to it till the next FNCS comes around. Fortnite fam, we're 3 games down here in NA East, but 3 left. Who will be crowned here in NA East? Well, stick around. You won't want to miss it. We're going to a break. When we come back, the conclusion here from the FNCS.
What's going on, Fortnite fam? Reset back with another video, and in today's video I want to cover height. And we're going to be using Zate, Saf and Stretch as an example, and one of their games where they picked up a victory royale from Qualifier 3 Round 3 of the FNCS. Across the 12 games, these guys picked up 4 victory royales, and they hold height in an absolutely textbook way, so let's dive into that. Firstly, just for super basic, height is when you're on the very highest layer of the moving zones in endgame, and this is powerful for many reasons. Firstly, because you use the least amount of materials to traverse the moving zones, you have a ton of angles on players to shoot down on, you have the best opportunities for healing, and you only need to worry about players below you, so you don't have to cover your left, right, and above, which you'll have to on low and mid ground layers. I like to categorize the art of playing high ground into 2 separate categories: claiming and maintaining. Claiming high ground does not start in the end game, it starts much earlier in the mid game, and in this game in particular, Zate, Saf and Stretch try to claim the high ground as early as the 3rd zone. You can see them take up a large amount of space horizontally here, with Zate and Saf building over onto another area, so they have 2 separate points of high ground. Later on in the game, when the 4th zone appears, they're not actually inside of this zone, so they wait late until other players have already built up there, and then they all shockwave over and claim the high ground there. The only reason that these guys get to the highest layer in 4th is because they'd already set themselves up on a higher layer in the 3rd zone. This allows them simply to just shockwave over and claim it. From here on out, our team's goals switch up from claiming high ground to maintaining it. Really, they're not looking for a huge amount of eliminations here. Their main goal is just to ensure they are the only ones on height. They do this by shooting at other players who have built up in other areas of the zone to around equal levels of them, and also by looking down, looking at players who are 1 or 2 layers below them, and pressuring these guys to make it seem like there's no chance that they're going to claim height over Zate, Saf and Stretch. You can see that the 5th zone is almost max distance from where they are now, so this is where Zate, Saf and Stretch are going to need to start claiming the high ground again. Zate hits a beautiful snipe on one of the opposing players at the opposite height, so this is an immediate flag that our team should now just go and grab that height, because these guys are going to be on the defensive, trying to pick up the res on this teammate, and aren't going to be focusing on maintaining that high ground. What Zate does is he actually shockwaves over to another layer of builds and then builds out into the zone to create a different area of high ground. Then, once this is solidified, Saf and Stretch both then come over onto this high ground, and then Zate actually goes over to the other layer of high ground where he sniped the player and builds up here. This is exactly the same thing we saw in the 3rd zone, where they've claimed 2 separate layers of high ground. They do this because they give absolutely no opportunities for any other team to take high ground at this point. So in the 5th zone, these guys have this completely locked down. At this point, because these guys have claimed 2 separate layers of high ground, it doesn't matter which way the zone pulls, as these guys already have claimed all of the high ground layers. In all honesty, this is the hardest part done. These guys have good materials still left, and now they just need to ensure that they maintain height all the way through the moving zones. The main threat that they have is players using their shockwave grenades to fly up and take height from them. So the way that they defend against this is by having one player on what we call ultimate high ground. In this game, in the first few moving zones, this is Zate. He stays up 3 or 4 layers above to ensure if anyone shockwaves up, he doesn't get knocked out. This allows him to spray any players at contesting and really take control of that high ground. And at the same time, you can see Saf move further ahead of the zone and spray backwards at players down below, while Stretch stays on the same layer as Saf and just consistently applies pressure to all the players below. You continue this form up until the 9th zone, the final moving, because this is when the heal off is going to need to happen. And you can see that Saf throws his white heals, which is medkits, up towards Stretch so that Stretch can stay on the ultimate high ground where Zate was instead. And then if this game goes down to a heal off, he can stay on the ultimate high ground, heal with the medkits, while Zate and Saf are on the low ground, completely trying to frag out and distract the other players who are alive. Zate ends up completely popping off on low ground and picking up the victory royale, meaning they didn't end up needing to use those medkits for the heal off. However, if Zate didn't manage to pop off here and the 9th zone ended up closing, they would have won this either way. Hope you guys enjoyed and learned a lot. I've been Resub. See you in the battle boss. Beep beep.
What's going on, Fortnite fam? Welcome back to continued coverage from us here in the Fortnite Champion Series Grand Finals. 3 games left to go. And we're not going to stay here too long because it's time to jump back into all the action. We've got our casters standing by to be our eyes in the sky. Take it away.
Here we have it. It's your boys, Monster D-Face and Aussie Antics, bringing the action. The drop spot of choice is Bugha, Avery, and Jamper to kick off this game number 4. It's the FNCS. It's the back half. It's time to bring this thing home.
Let's bring it home, and how exciting today has been, but already things shaping up very differently just from last game to this game. The first game of the day, this team hasn't been contested, right, Monster? They have the loot, they have the positioning, and no eliminations. Cease's team must have backed out.
Yeah, someone had to figure it out. Someone decided it wasn't a great idea. Clearly something wasn't working. Maybe Zate, Saf, and Stretch have some competition over there. I mean, we do know there's 2 drop spots if you want to play for first. That's kind of how it all shapes out to be, but this is great. This is great for Bugha, Jamper, and Avery, who realistically, you have to give a lot of credit to. They held their 5th place spot. They held that top 5 somehow, some way, even though they were contested. I talked about this drop spot having some players here, and it seems like it does. Zate's got a whole lot of company.
Yeah, but over near Salty, all I'm seeing right now is TNA team getting beelined on by XSET team, and we've seen it. It's 2-0 at this point. TNA's team has run into XSET twice, and they have full wiped them both times. Once early in the mid game, and once very far into the end game. So if they go toe-to-toe again, that's your 4th place and 1st place team. Things could get exciting. We have 3 of our top 5 teams all on top of each other right now. And you just talked about the leaderboard then, Monster, right? They held on to their 5th place. They're tied for 4th and only 4 points behind 3rd. So this top 5, as much as TNA is honestly running away with it, the rest of the leaderboard is so close. It is anyone's game.
Yeah, and that's the matter of thousands, right? You're talking thousands and thousands of dollars on the line here. And just the prestige of saying you finished in the top 5, the top 3, the 2nd place, whatever it may be that you're trying to come home with. There is still a lot riding on the line here. And that's why teams are contesting those major drop spots. That's why you have Cease, Blake, and company landing there. Because at the end of the day, you need those shockwaves, right? You want to play for first. Even if you're in the back pages, you can propel your way on up. And that's what everyone's trying to do here.
Yeah, it's very, very tight when it gets lower right now. Saf Zate can still do that as well. And we talk about, like, the prestige. There's also a lot of beef on the line. There has been a lot of teams talking smack. You have Zate, Saf, and Stretch calling out Bugha's team for not performing with uncontested Starks throughout the weeks. They now have uncontested Dooms, and they're doing the worst they've ever done. So they really need to come back in the tail half here and impress, because you don't want to be made to eat your own words if Bugha's team beats out Zate's team.
100% now. We're going to hop on over, though. Bugha, Avery, Jamper gives you guys a little bit of an update what the loadout's looking like. Not a lot of medium bullets, but everything else sort of coming together here. And this is why in that last big highlight clip that we saw Bugha hit the snipe shot, this is why they never have sniper shots. It's just the ammunition's a bit scarce here for the heavy, for the medium bullets, but they managed to make do with it, even against all odds here. Avery's the one really hoarding onto it. It looks like he's got to do some sharing.
Oh, it looks like Avery has to do some sharing with the vault, but doesn't realize the team is in there. Ledger Dian comes out. We're talking about Team New Age all day here, but it's the new signing of Ledger Dian that's going to really affect this leaderboard. That's your 5th place team. Only one of them's down. There is a reboot van here, but the zone is coming. I don't think they're going to be able to pull off a reboot here unless this team rotates quickly, and that's a big loot increase for them.
Such a huge come up. When we talked about Avery hoarding all the ammo, I mean, they just got away with 300 medium bullets. All the loot, of course, that they get to pick up on top of that. And then they skate away Storm, Surge, Freeze. So just like that, the ambush is going to pay off. Yes, Bugha will be able to get the card here. But, I mean, the payment has already been due. It's already been dished out. They're gone with it. It's a free elim for them. Luckily for Avery and Bugha here, or Jamper and Bugha, they do not get held out, right? This could have been a lot worse than it already was.
Yeah, I was going to say, they do have one of these cars. They do have the med kits. They could go for the reboot, but maybe they're going to try and find it somewhere else.
Jamper's there.
Oh, Jamper's gone for it. So Jamper's now gone for the reboot, but I'm surprised Bugha's leaving now as well. So yeah, maybe they have the clean rotate back in. Jamper has fallen back. He gets the reboot. There we go. So the only problem is they've lost the loadout. Avery's gone from having really, really good firepower to kind of just getting the scraps now. He's just got to get the backup weapons, the leftovers, but it could be a lot worse. They're still up. They're still in this with a chance, and this team could very, very easily jump up. And like you said, thousands, there's tens of thousands when you think about how much these teams get combined on the line. So they really need to perform now.
I really do love how Jamper and Avery didn't even want to test the vault. They were like, you know, just in case Booga didn't clear it, they didn't even bother going inside of it to pick up anything. Ooh. So that's how that's going to play out. Reverse 2K is going to find a massive knock here onto C9's Nosh. In the process, though, Macwood falls. Calculator falls there to Class 2. All of a sudden, some big knocks from notable trios left and rights. It seems like Reverse 2K and company trying to rotate up.
This is so important. This would have been by far this team's worst performance. Look at the loadout. We've never really seen them this shambles. They have a couple of minis, couple of bandages. They've got the crash pads, but no builds, no eliminations on the board. They're now only 123 above the Storm Surge. So this team is proving they can do it all. Now they can clutch up even when they're shambles. They can identify those fights, and let's see the confidence. Is a team finally going to stop this team? Is somebody finally going to be able to say, no, you aren't the best team in NA East? And no, never mind. Right now, they're proving why they're in the lead as Day just gets in on an entire team. When have you ever seen a team in a major region run through every other team with ease? We are now over 10 games in, and no one has been able to stop this team. No one has beaten them in a straight 3v3. This is insane.
Yeah, and it's not even close. It's not that they haven't been beaten. It hasn't even been close. I'm sure if we take the stats and we really crunch down to the length of time, how long these battles have lasted, they are not very long. And this is why Miro is leading with eliminations for the entire region. I think I'm not sure if it's internationally, but when we saw the stat flying, Miro has the most elims. That's all it said. So, like, he's the slayer of the squad. He's got 0 this time around. Day's right behind him, but you know he's going to be able to follow up without a single problem. And that's how they're dropping teams right now.
And look at that. They've now got their eliminations. They've got their surge. They've got more loot. And it's just crazy. They're in the lead, but they've been playing like this all weekend. And this is when usually teams are like, cool, we're coming into this. We've got an almost 50-point lead. We've done it. Let's just have our victory lap. Let's sit back and cruise through. No, they're still in top gear right now. They are pushing through everyone, trying to get these eliminations, and nothing's going to stop them right now. I need to see at least one team try to meet their match, or we have our 100% undisputed champions of NA East, because they've done it in such dominant fashion. But there are people still knocking on the door who can come back with these big performances like Scented Edgy and Commandment as they set up to try and run through a team as well.
And just to jump on that, it's not just dominant fashion, it's also different drop spot. Like, they're doing something completely different, and they did it through the qualifying weeks. Dirty Docks first, taking up Fortilla, now a brand new drop spot by the castle. Just to give you an idea of how good Reverse 2K, Miro, and Day have been throughout this week, they have flex dropped consistently and successfully made it work every single week they played Fortnite. Here, though, another big team. Not necessarily as flex. They did have some opportunities to play Stark, but they're back at their home drop spot. They're doing very, very good. Still far off of first, but very consistent so far nonetheless.
This is a team that's dropped down a little bit here. Aspect, Zuni's, and NPen came into today on 4th, really close to 3rd, and now they've dropped right back into 7th. So really got to pick up the pace because they've been playing such good Fortnite this whole weekend, and you don't want to let it slip now. Aspect has been in these situations before, an absolute veteran. So I don't think it's the pressure, just something isn't clicking, but I know they can make it work because they really want to jump up into that big, big prize money, and this loadout is the one to do it. They've got the good positioning, and this is probably one of the easiest zones we've seen today, right, Monster? It's pretty like we've been saying, vanilla. There's a bit of water, there's kind of some hills, there's no mountains, there's no like steamy stacks, no giant buildings. It's going to play out and anyone can win this one.
Yeah, these are the ones that get the most exciting. The slight elevation, nothing too crazy. It's all bronze, all guts. Let's see how it's going to play out, though. Remember, this last game just shows you what happens when you fall behind from one single round. Zuni's Aspect and NPen, the Booga opener, the quick drop on the squad here, really set them back. They fell all the way down to 7th place. But when I say that, I mean they're just 5 placements off of top 4, all right? So it's that neck and neck here. A few eliminations here make the difference for the squad. But nonetheless, you cannot fall. If you're in the top 10, you're in the top 5, and you fall, you're going to fall a massive amount of slots, and it's going to be that much harder to close the gap. That's how much, that's how stiff the competition is from 2nd to 10th.
And look at that edge right now. Reverse 2K down there in a decent spot. But if you look at that mini-map, it is congested beyond congested. There's a few teams out here in the open, and we always talk about being, you know, dead side versus congested side. In stack lobbies like this, though, I'm a little bit scared for teams like Dubs, Mega, and Riversun out here, because if they've got to make their rotate, or if they start getting lobby focused, they have nothing to hide behind. So they've got to be really, really careful of which edits they open up right now, because if any of them get knocked or if they get cracked, the lobby focus will just unleash on them. But teams like Reverse right now have so many teams on top of their head. If they don't navigate properly, they're in a very risky position.
Here it is, though, looking out to put some pressure down. Dubs is not going to connect anything. Mega looking out the other side. He's got to be careful. All these fresh builds do bring a lot of attention, especially considering they are inside the safe zone. A lot of lines of sights on them. Riversound is going to have a team land right in front of him. He looks to open up the edit right now. He's actually controlling all these pieces as well. It's looking pretty good for them. They might be able to take this box fight. This team landed so close. They're poising up for it. Do have to be careful. I wonder if they have some crash pads to go ahead and extend this one out. It might just work.
And it's crazy to talk about a team as if they're like a struggling team that can maybe win this box fight, because there's Mega, Dubs, and Riversun, such decorated players. Riversun was doing better than any other team coming into these tournaments as a trio, but he split last minute with Furious and Illest, picked up Mega and Dubs, and just hasn't found their success. So they really need to do something in this tail half. Otherwise, he's going to feel really, really bad about that decision right now.
Definitely. Now you can see the other attention coming from the rest of the lobby now. The half in, half out's going to pop. It's going all the way east here. It's looking like the perfect kind of flat zone some people could only dream for. And they have the opportunity. Cosmix is going to fall here to Dubs. The quick follow-up, and that is also onto the next player too. All of a sudden now they have granted themselves 2 eliminations, and they are able to claim the loot. Dubs jumps in, Riverson jumps in. They are able to grab all of this. That is great for the rotate up ahead.
And I saw Scented, Edgy, and Commandment get 2 eliminations in the feed too, so they're pushing their second place a little bit further beyond right now as Jamper taking down Unknown here. So we got some big teams really shaping up here. I think we have every single team in the top 5 still up right now and looking pretty healthy as no Day falls. This is big. This is something we have not seen. Our first place team losing a member in the mid game. I know that sounds crazy, 9 games into a grand final, but this literally has not happened until now. We have to see whether they can bounce back from this.
Yeah, and if it did happen, they got the revive off. So that's the difference between then and now. Oh, it's a big knock's going to hop in here to Fop. Fop's down. That's the second time now we watch him eat a massive shot on broadcast, unfortunately. But Mega with the beautiful follow. He's probably not going to get the conclusion, but still a very high-class shot here from the high ground spot. And now they are able to dominantly hold it. They do have to be careful, though. The more likely they are to hold this one passively like this with ramps, the more likely they are to get landed on and have height snatched up from them. So they do have to be careful. You saw right there, Zate poising up. Like, this is the guy to do it, too. Looking outwards. He doesn't have a cone over his head like everyone else would have in a situation. It's because they love to jump out. They love to surprise the high ground teams. As we hop over to the other side, 8 elims here for Kaz and Polarize. Not too bad as a 2-man squad.
And that was really just 2 sides of the battlefield, right? Both up on high ground, just looking at each other. Neither one of them building up, but I think at this point right now, it looks like Riverside, Dubs, and Mega actually got zone advantage. But like you said, Zate likes to jump. You know they're going to pounce on that if they can. If they have the mobility, they're going to go for that either way. As 8 eliminations for this team, they're going to try and make it 9, and that they do. They take out Suesuo, but getting eliminations now is a little bit sketchy because they've got to start working on their rotate. And there it is. The Peppermints come out, and Zate goes down to tabs. So Zate's firepower on the high ground is looking a lot worse for wear, which is even better for Riversun, Dubs, and Mega if they were able to do something with it up there.
100%. And guys, this is the halfway mark right here. Game number 4 of the day 2. After this, the qualifier run for grand finals is over. What can you do? As Polarize gets end pen here, that means Aspect and Zunis have to clutch up. Can they get the save? Polarize looking to scramble right now. Shots coming from all over, and he does. He stays alive for a little longer. He gets the thirst. That's onto end pen. All that for a point. That makes it 10 elims for them in a massive follow-up. What a shot right there.
Polarized mechanics then to flip the stair to hold the bills. It looked all crazy, but that was so well done to survive that one. As here we go.
Miro's down.
Taking down Miro. There it is. Like you said, Monster, they got him back up. They're just that good. They revived him, but no, there is no revive now. There is no reboot. Miro is down, and Reverse 2K and Day have to do it alone, and Day goes down too, and Reverse 2K, they go down to the Xdead trio. That is our first place team. This is the first time in almost 10 games that they have been in this situation. They have to sit back and watch and see if their lead holds out, because right now, Commandment's team's still in this. AV's team's still in this. I see Slacks as well. So right now, they're coming for first place.
Shark is down, AV is down, Knight is now down. That's going to conclude the XSET team. So who else is going to be able to make a run up to the top? Will it be Booga? Will it be Avery? Will it be Jamper? That's another huge follow-up there, and another shotgun shot through the wall. All of a sudden, they are the kings of the low. They are trying to take one from the page of the low ground book. And I mean, they're playing it off well. They have 5 elims already, and they're set up for success.
They're playing it really well, and honestly, we've seen this team go for high ground and usually lose it, but right now, Mega, Dubs, and Riversun are on the high ground. Who is going to challenge it? Because quite often, we're seeing the story of the first team that goes up, doesn't win it, and it's the last team that goes up. Who can hold out and take the high ground at the last minute? If you've got those shockwaves, you've just got to hold that mid and low ground, but it's easier said than done. You have the best of the best in this lobby. They're knocking on your doors, they're knocking on your walls, and if you're not in a safe position, you see things happen like Edgy and Scented going down. That is your second place team. They needed this game so badly. They saw TNA go down in the feed, and this was their chance, and they might be blundering it. I think they're all out of this one.
Yeah, Commandment's down as well. That's going to conclude the second place team. It seems like First will be able to hold it out. This is giving opportunity to the others, though. What are Riverson here, Dubs and Mega going to do with this? They have 5 eliminations and the high ground. I mean, they're basically skating on thin ice here. They do not have a lot of builds, and the zone still has a bit of a stretch. A minute and a half is quite a ways away, so they're going to have to come down and get dirty into this build fight here. They have enough to do it as well. They're scavenging around the outskirts. This is why Riverson's looking around, trying to find what he can here. How's it gonna all play, though?
Booger just got an entire trio wipe. Booger just took down 3 entire players before he falls to pose, so they're dropping big eliminations down there as Jamper goes down as well. This is great for Riversun's team. They get a bit of a refresh. He's coming back up with the materials, but looks like Booger's team has been wounded down there, because that's what they needed to try and close this out. Avery goes up. He's the last one. Avery falls. It's Furious, Blake. They're going toe-to-toe with Stretch right now, so it's going to be a 3v2. Furious in the low ground with Blake. This team has been struggling. They started dropping over at Stark. They found no success. Wherever they went this game, this is the furthest we've seen them, but they don't have the end game experience here today, Monster. They have to stay composed in a position they haven't been in yet.
Yeah, they haven't played any end games today, so it is going to be a matter of how quickly they can react to these shots. It's going to be those quick low ground peaks that take home the victory right now. A 6 elimination hold right now from Riverson, Dubs, and Mega. Not too bad for them right now. 47 points today is pretty impressive, but the team on low has to come up. Wait a second, Riverson's down.
Mike.
It's not looking good. Oh no, the big shot though. Well played for Mega.
Well played from Mega indeed. The big shot, he backed up. He had the health advantage, did not have any extra heals, but that was enough for having to come back. But this leaderboard, Monster, we finally saw it. We saw TNA fall. They can be taken out, but unfortunately, I don't think Commandment, Sense, and Edgy took their opportunity to really jump up, so it's still going to be so close at the top. That was all the top 5 teams in it, but I don't know where they went.
And I mean, you think about what that means for Riverson, Dubs, and Mega. That's a 32-point jump, I believe, with the 8 points in the 25 Victory Royale. Not too bad for them. They were just outside of top 10. That puts them up towards top 5. When we said the top 10 was close, we meant it there, Aussie.
There is so much money on the line, so even if first place is running away with it, we'll have to see who can jump up and get that big money. Analysts, please let us know, because this leaderboard is crazy.
The only thing that mirrors the craziness of this leaderboard are the casters' skills. I mean, just freaking put some respect on these guys. They're bringing the hype. They're bringing the action, calling it left and right. Props, guys. Now, let's take a look at these leaderboards, because as these guys just talked about, this is very close. Second and third is going back and forth. However, Day, Miro, Reverse, 2K, they still have a dominant lead. 40 points. Now, listen. A 15-point Victory Royale can squash that lead, but that is a very tall order with only 2 games left to go.
Yeah, I mean, if NA East was like an album, right? This would be the B-side. This would be day 2. That last game would be an interlude, but it's still the same popular track all the way up top with Day, Miro, Reverse, 2K that everyone keeps playing. 186 points every game. They're still there. They're still singing high and mighty. It's just, there's just only a few other trios that can really catch up, and Reese, they'll have to do a lot to get there.
They will, but They've played 10 games so far, and you know, they've started to kind of, TNA streams started to go down a little bit at the end. Have they had their greatest hits album already? They've got 2 more games left, and is anyone in second and third, such as Commandment, Send and Edgy, Jamper, Booga, Avery, able to actually catch up to that?
That's true, and then the reason I called that last game kind of like an interlude is because everyone wants to focus on the popular tracks, the top 5. It was more about the 6th to 15th place, the going for top 10, like Aussie called it. That was the focus and the results after that last game. We can see a little bit of a switch up here. Xset now in 6th, Zate holding on to 8th. We'll see Zexro, Calc, and Macwood also sneaking into that top 10. Creo, Bucky, Kanata are surviving on this page, but they definitely want to be on that top 5.
Yeah, it's pretty unusual to see a team with 2 victory royales down in 9th, but that's because it's so close in between 2nd all the way down to 10th, you know? Anyone can take it, and one big game can really move you up the leaderboards.
Yep, and the melody from that last game was Mega, Riverson, and Dubs all the way in 11th. They get that VR. They pull themselves up from the trenches towards those top charts, towards that top 10. We're not looking at quals anymore. It's more about cementing your legacy. And yes, we are going to be focusing in a little bit on Reverse Miro and Day, but these guys are also looking for their top 10, looking for better placements, as is P. God Elige and Jelty, as are Skittles and Ronaldo, shooting for height every game. Clicks, Illis, and Bizzle also coming so close to 2 different wins. One yesterday, one today. We'll see if they can get theirs. For everyone here, there are still stakes on the line.
Being able to find yourself up on that leaderboard, especially after the 2 games, right? For FaZe, Mega, Dubs, these guys jumped up to 11th, right? This is going to impact their earnings. This means they get to walk away with more money. They may not be walking away FNCS champions, but overall being able to say, hey, look, we made top 10 in FNCS, that's still real good. Now, gentlemen, turning our attention back to that first place team, these guys just feel like a raid boss. It just feels like whatever everyone else is trying to do, like, it's just like, no, you know? Like, this is the first day raid boss hits, and everyone's like, how do we stop this? How do we, you know, like...
It's actual critical damage they're throwing down on the rest of the server. And the thing is, usually a raid boss has a weakness. No one has identified one. No player, no team, no trio has found a way to stop the TNA, the new age trio, up top in first place.
Will they? I'm not sure if they are actually going to be able to, but let's take a look at some of their highlights and some of the reasons why they are so good.
Absolutely. These guys are always playing the edge side of a zone. They always keep one side purple or blue depending on what colorblind settings you are playing on. Either way, the zone is there and it helps them. Even if one person like Day ends up going down, Reverse and Miro have such a good position, they get to survive and push through the whole way in the game. Their secret is literally just trying to play their position at all times. They don't worry about the next zone unless it's a mountain. We do have some players, some trios for this raid boss. Who would they be, Reese?
Yeah, so was in 3rd place, now in 4th is Commandment, Scented, and Edgy. You know, these guys are not playing a single player game. These guys are in co-op mode by far, and all the other games you've played today very, very consistently. Same with Day 1. They've been hitting those critical hits. They've been buffed. Unfortunately, that last game going down in the in-game and not grabbing too many points, however.
Yeah, their secret sauce, their kind of superpowers, always going towards the end game and performing there. Sometimes they don't make it, which is why they can't climb towards that boss status that Reverse Miro and Day have. Another trio, another player number 2 here is Slacks, Acorn, and Jack. This trio is so good once they're actually solidified and all 3 are alive playing these games out. It just feels like when one gets down, they don't have that complete package to round out games. Not very similar to how, you know, Reverse Miro and Day kind of do their stuff. Now here's player 3, a wild card coming in, kind of shaking up the top 10. Mega, Dubs, Riverson off of that last win. It was crisp. Another trio too that just landed in based off performances in that last game was Jamper, Booga, and Avery. Now in 3rd, they have a shot to take down the beast, the boss that are the new age trio, Reverse Miro and Day. But can they is the question.
There's only 2 games left, man. There has to be something that's done, whether it's a contested drop like we saw back in EU, or the lobby needs to decide this raid boss has to come down. It's too strong. We'll have to see. But gentlemen, Fortnite fam, it's time. We're going right back in a game. The action is heating up, so let's kick it back over to our casters. Take it away.
This puts us one step closer to the final marathon stretch here. It's the 5th game of day number 2. Aussie, it's been a tough 2 days for these competition. I mean, we're seeing it all play out here, and it seems like the TNA boys are contested.
Yeah, I was about to say, I want to get the hype going. I want to get excited, but I'm sorry. I just love Fortnite too much. I couldn't even contain that there. I'm sorry, Monster, to interrupt. What is happening right now? We have our first place team that has been what looked like an almost insurmountable lead. With 2 games to go, something has to happen. And right now, we've had it. Someone's pushing into their loot path right now. And this is not going to end well, I have to imagine. They can maybe pull it back. This team has been so good at fighting, but this is the huge shift up that this game needed for everybody else, because this team has been untouchable.
Yeah, and you think about it, right? Daymir and Reverse 2K have had this entire drop spots himself, but Knifer, Tabs, and Joji definitely play that upper portion of the castle, the side of the islands. This time around, it seems like nothing was too big for them to overcome, though. They were just far enough, just outside of the reach, and they were untouched this time. And they are going to be able to claim up the heals here, as they're not too sure. Actually, wait a second. Bizzle and Clicks are stepping up a little bit sooner this time, and Day has to get the slurp truck by himself. Digging into the heels already. Reverse 2K already got it, and he sees Illis. Illis on the flank, so this is not a successful ambush.
This is incredibly scary. This isn't just a team that's shambles going up against another team that's a little bit shambles. This is our Sweaty Sands team, and they're opening up with a snipe. If that was from Clicks, I have to say he's one of the best snipers on NA East right now. He's hitting so many shots, and this is incredibly scary. If you're cheering for our first place team, they have been so far and ahead. They're getting an average placement of 4th, and they're potentially going to go down here. Reverse falls. Day falls. Miro's the only one left. Miro has our elimination record in NA East, but this is going to be a task that surely is even too great for him. It's a 3v1. What can he do with the blue pump? Hits the big shots, but no, they fall
Not
down.
enough.
Monster, that is our first place team. They are so far ahead, but not so far ahead where they can't be nervous now. They have to be sweating.
And it makes sense for Illis, Clicks, and Bizzle here to push. You saw the loadout, the maxed out shotguns on the drop spot. You have to do something with it. Why not push the team in the lead just over the hill? Not quite ready. The ambush tactics, it's gonna play off this time. Now, the real question is, can Jamper, Booga, and Avery take advantage of this? Will Commandment, Sensei, and Edgy take advantage, right? It's the other teams that have to use this opportunity now.
They have to use this opportunity. You can see this team more than any other use the opportunity when they're contested, though. Booga has secured the first elim of the game more than any other NA East player this FNCS. That stat is so crazy. It's got me jumbling. And they're not even contested that often, so that is a ridiculous statistic. That means when they are contested, Booga is really the one that's capitalizing and winning those big fights, because they matter the most. When you're able to get that first elimination when you're contested, that's where things crumble and break apart.
Here it is, Booga with the big backpack for the squad in the early rounds, making it happen here for the drop spot. This key to success here. Avery Doe's going to slide over to the Vault this time, nice and early, not to be greeted by any surprises. He's going to make sure he gets his loot, learning from the last round that this all unfolded. He's down to 70 HP. He's going to have to heal up here, but the Vault seems pretty nice. Looking very, very nice for the trio.
Very, very nice. And this is what we got to start setting up. Who can spoil this? Who can jump up? And this is probably one of the biggest contenders right now. They're going in on 3rd place. They're about 43 points behind first. But when you think the first place is out of this team has been able to drop big elimination wins. A 10 elimination win would bring this margin down so incredibly close. And they have the loot to do it. We've seen what this drop can do over on EU. When Mongrel's team had it to themselves, they were running away with the leaderboard. And that's what Booga has to do. There's been so many questions around this team this season, Monster. So many people doubting them because they were getting, 3rds and 4ths, but people said it's not good enough. You have Stark, you need to be winning. And if people are still asking those questions, now's when they put him to rest.
100% here. Avery looking to get his loot together. Jamper, of course, trying to find his route too. Picking up the white heals, not too bad. He does have some space in the inventory. The splash is going to come out. This is going to put them right in contention for having that high health pool. And of course, now it's going to be time to move on out. Remember, the last time they stuck around here for too long, you had a lot of teams come in. That first game had 4 squads rotate in. Of course, the drop spot contest, and then Zayt and company flying in nice and late. So you can't stick around Stark Industries for too long. It does tend to backfire pretty consistently.
A lot of people want that loot, and a lot of people want the mobility right now. Shots are coming out. Was there another team still hiding here? Did we miss somebody? There was a team hiding here, and no, this is so risky right now for your 3rd place team. Jamper doesn't have any of the shockwaves, none of the mobility. He's trying to get away, but this team were they hiding inside the hangar, Monster? They have to have been.
Yeah, definitely playing a little funny here. They were hitting out on the side. For a second, I thought it was the Stark bots. I'm like, there's no way, right? They're hitting all those shots. It's the same team that had the ambush before. This time, it's a little different, coming in with a new approach. I like the strategy, though. I like the way that they play for their surge tags. It's working out consistently.
It's changing up fast. Can we just talk about how different this game already is, Moss? That's our third place team being ambushed. That's our first place team being contested for the first time.
Nice.
NA East is not happy leaving this. They want to finish this strong. Every team is trying to make something happen. You talked about a marathon. It's a 12-game format, but this has been a month in the making. This has been building this entire season. Trio FNCS, the first one we've had in so long. People want that crown, or they want a piece of the prize pool, because there is so much money on the line.
Yeah, and twice, right? The last game, Avery got met inside of the hangar. This game, once again, in the vehicle. Like, you know, a little unlucky that he's the one on the outskirts. He's the one distancing himself from the pack, but that's what happens. You get too far. If a team's planning something sneaky, it's going to be onto the guy that's by himself, and that's why Avery gets punished twice. I'm not sure if he gets finished, though. I think he was knocked. I do wonder if they're going to be able to clean it up. Be paying attention to the feed, though, to figure it out. 4 teams have already been dropped here. Remember, this is game number 5. After this, there is only one more opportunity to pick up some points.
Getting close, and we talked about it. We talked about how good these teams are at the very top level, and it's crazy that when everyone's mechanics, their aim, their edit, their building is on that top tier level, that it comes down to the real Battle Royale-esque strategies of hiding, right? Taking those little peeks and ambushing people. That's what makes the difference right now, because you can't just beat out the best players in the world with just pure mechanics. You've got to be a little bit smarter, and you've got to change things up. Which teams can adapt? Because TNA needs to adapt now. Their whole game plan has changed, but they've been more adaptive than any other team with their drop spots and how they play, as XZ has dropped off their pace massively. They've gone down now into 6th. They were first place finishing up yesterday in game 5, and now they've dropped all the way down into 6th. So they need to come back. 17 points. They've had a very rough day.
Yeah, a couple bad rounds have really set them back, and then, of course, no major finishes the way they had yesterday. So it's the reason why XZ Knight, though, looking for the snipe up, is almost going to tuck one inside, but no, it's going to be a dead miss there. And remember, first place is out of the game, guys. Day Mirror, Reverse 2K are out. This is where all these other teams finally now have the opportunity to give us a finale, give us a great last game. It is on the backs of everyone else right now to stay up and get closer to that first place. And then the real competition begins. The battle for the FNCS Axe of Champions.
The Axe of Champions, and man, it's so incredibly clean. We saw last night over an OC, I was watching Jinx, he was streaming the grand finals, he was rocking the Axe of Champions. It could have been gone, but he won again, and man, it is so prestigious. It just heralds everyone in the lobby that you are one of the best, and in one of the best regions as well. Trios has been so exciting, but it's all closing out here, and you need to do it. 2 games left. It's a 12-game format, and this leaderboard is still so close. With TNA down, this is anyone's tournament still.
100%. 4th place team is the one we're queued in with right now. Acorn, Jack, and Slacks. Acorn has more full team eliminations than any other NA East player this FNCS. This is the guy you want on the front lines. This is the guy who's done it. He's the clutch.
He's the big clutch, and wiping an entire trio in FNCS, the best of the best in your region, taking down all 3 by yourself. That is a ridiculous statistic, and maybe we're going to see that now here as they try to push forward right now. We've got the full Chaos Agent squad trying to make their way in if they can. Players backed up against the wall, and you have to be scared of any team that's around them right now, and it is XZ's team as well, but it's Postic, Graska, and XZ who have no shield that are pinned between 2 of the scariest teams so far this FNCS.
Gotta be careful, though. The last time Graska and company got dived on, they did a very good job defending, bodying Clicks, Bizzle, and Commandment just before, or Illis there. Here, though, with Zuni's Endpen and Aspect, they're putting some shots down a team in the distance. That's the problem with using those rifts. You do have to be careful. You open yourself up to being free Storm Surge tags, as this team's only 11 above, so it's time to get active. Remember, they drop at the ruins. Their strategy is heavily dependent on finding tags while they're at the topmost portions of these mountains. Being that they didn't get too many, though, they're in a weird situation now. They have a lot of distance between them and other teams. They might have to go in for a close-range battle.
And I've seen AV's team just go down now. AV gets finished on by Riversun, Dubs, and Mega. I don't see Knight and Shark, but again, that's your kind of around that top 5 leaderboard. Really, really shaping out. And this team's kind of just clinging on. They're just holding on. They haven't had the big performances they had yesterday, Monster. They're kind of, resting on their laurels from yesterday as teams like Booger, Jumper, and Avery jump up, and they're 17 below. So they can't rest on their laurels. They've got to move forward, be aggressive, make something happen. Now's the time. But look how many teams are around there. Who are you going to pick to try and make something happen on? Sneaks inside the top. This is really good. This is amazing. He's just crouching through here. Look at them. You can see them all on the mini-map. This whole team is crouching in, ready to play spoiler, hiding behind pop plants, hiding behind walls, just seeing what they can do here. But unfortunately, this team leaves no open walls. But the crash pads always open up the walls. And no Cypher and Keys team. Bit of lobby manipulation. They've got them so focused right now as all those players are looking at this team. And that's a great way to get your tag safely.
100%. You do have to be careful. Imagine someone takes a dive there. If the floors break or something, if it lands on something weird, anything can happen when the crash pads interact with the builds. Very, very good plays there on the bridge. Ultimately, though, nothing's going to come of it. Mega, Dubs, and Riverson already takes out Xset, right? We saw one of those members fall. And this is the congestion. This is the clutter of builds. And now they inch their way to the loot. They secure another big pot for them to take with them. Mega getting a little thirsty here, though. Sticking around, really trying to look. He's got to be careful.
And this zone right now is really playing into Commandment Center and Edgy's favor. The only times we've seen them really struggle is when they get those far north zones. This one's a good one. It's a southeast kind of middle of the map area. And them coming out of Misty, they're looking great right now. So they've got everything they need to make this game count because eyes are on them. But we also have Booger, Jamper, and Avery that have to come from the far north. And eyes are on them too. Both those teams need to have the games of their lives because if they go into this last game, it's a mental battle, right, Monster? If you're going into your last game and you've got the win in sight, you feel so much more motivated. They need the big performance now. You don't want to leave it to the last game.
100%. And I mean, they're set up with a great shockwave play to find themselves some new territory here in the zone, right on the backside of this Sentinel here. These Sentinels are indestructible as well, so fairly protected backside. All they have to do is worry now about the front portion. This is a great spot to hang out in. It's a huge mountain in front of them, so no need to worry too much there, as if anyone crosses through the valley, they're going to get punished. Now here, Bucky, Creo, Kanata, another team that has to make a move. They're just outside the Stormline edge, 48 damage above. Stretch finds Joji in the feed, so Zate's crew still getting active even in the storm fight right now.
And they've had 2 really big games today, especially that 13 elimination win. They've proven they can do it. If they get another win like that, that jumps them all of a sudden from just inside top 10 to easily inside top 3 if they really have that big performance. So this team needs to show up, and they've been doing it from a drop that hasn't been super strong on really any other region, just showing how good they are out of Slurpy Swamps. And this is a good zone for them. They've got no one really around them on their edge. They're getting their tags because they're only 69 damage above, so they've got to get some shots out. If they get this tag in the mid game, they're looking really good on their next rotate as well.
100%, and they're really desperately looking for anything, any kind of action right now while they have this backside, no focus on top of them either. This is the most comfortable spot to be in. Wood Walls is the targeted choice. You can see a 3-2-1 with the AR shot to AR fire to walls. The one single type of wood walls, they will take you out. Those shots go through, and they go through quick. As you can see, AJ does not have a lot. He's trying to fire back, trying to give up a little bit of defense, show some stance here, but it's not being respected. He's way too far off the new safe line, and they know it.
They've always started making their rotates. No one really using the Sentinel hands here because they're great when you're playing less stacked games, arena, public matches, but in these games, they leave you in the sky a little bit too long, so everyone opting to use their mobility items. There's Booger, Jamper, and Avery looking really healthy, looking to try and play the upset here today. They need one massive game. As Gabe Tahi and Sprite, they had some big games. They dropped some serious eliminations earlier today. We have Ronaldo, Skittles, and Zum. They've always just been there, right, Monster? We've seen so much of them today, but they just haven't had those last few minutes they need to hold on to for the big placements to jump up on the leaderboard.
Definitely. There's no opportunities to be missed here, though, as the rotates are coming on in now. Scented trying to play for this good spot here. Commandment and Edgy already situated. Super comfortable. Team comes up. Great shot from Scented. Is he going to be able to collapse in on it? He's thinking about it, but might not be worth it. Too soon. Too packed.
very packed right now, and they have such a good control right now. I saw them really split though, so Edgy, Sentinel, and Commandment are feeling comfortable. They were quite split up there, but they had a big body of area, so I don't want to see them make those little mistakes, but it's also great to see them not getting super nervous. They're not just like sitting in the boxes. They're trying to move around and really make things happen, because this is a team that isn't going to settle for second. They're not aiming for second right now. They don't want to hold on to third. They want to get up into first. They want to make big moves, and there is no way they haven't seen that TNA's team went down early in the feed. They know. So they know this is their shot. When it's endgame and everything's going crazy, they might miss it. But in that early game, they've now had this whole mid game to think, this is their moment. This is our chance. They can see the cup in front of them, but they're going to have to do a big game to make it happen.
That was Bucky, Creo, and Kanata's team that snuck up right behind them there when Sensei put their shots down. That would have been a crazy clash of top 10s against one another. Here, though, with Dubs, Mega, and Riverson, still living off that knock that they had onto the Exet trio. Very much holding them up right now to the Storm Surge, as it is going to start ticking over soon. Once we get that next zone to reveal itself, here it is. 500 damage above, all because of the tags, all because of the knock they picked up before. Here is a team being pressured on the side, though. They're looking to find this opportunity. The target marker's out. This might be it.
They've really been impacting that lobby as well. Over 500 above just on one elimination, just showing how well they're playing, the little advantage they get. And right now, this lobby is really focused up on this giant mountain here, on this big edge.
Nice
and the
snipe.
262 shot. That's onto Illust right now, and that is a big, big blow to Clix's team right now, who started to have a bit of a run back. We saw them take out our first place team earlier in this game. They had the big wipe on #1, but now they're going to have to drop back into those builds. We can see through the wall, they're holding it, and they're going to get the revive off, but that's a lot of meds lost, and another big jump in Storm Surge for Dubs' team.
They're lucky they get to stay alive. They're just outside that top 12, so this is a fight for top 10 for Clix, Illis, and Bizzle. If they stay up, they do get their way up the standings. They need to stay up right now if they want to have, you know, even a remotely top placing spot inside this competition. That's what's on the line for them, as Exet Knight actually finds the Elam there onto Eclipse. Remember, they are down a member. That member went down late into the game as well from Riverson, so there's no way their teammates back in full action. They're operating as a two-man team.
As Riversun now takes down Commandment, gets elimination. So does Edgy. So Edgy and Commandment right now taking on Creo's team toe-to-toe. So they get the knock and the finish. So they're jumping up there as well. And every elimination is going to matter to bring this team closer. That's who you're looking for in the feed. You're looking for Scented, Commandment, Edgy, Jamper, Booger, and Avery. Those are our two teams that can really jump up here and try to take this on. And right now, Mega on the backside, though, gets dropped in on. He's split up right now. Needs to go over an upper layer to get back to his team. But just like that, Riversun and Dubs turn around so quick and help out their teammate. And that was a nice little rotate. Back to front side on half-half.
Yeah, he does a great job to stay in the game right now. And now they're in that lower elevation here, playing off the side of the mountain cliff. They should have a lot of opportunity to stay up for a while as they find Bucky on the rotate on in. Down goes Bucky as well, and fully thirsted. Nothing to worry about but a nice loot delivery for the team here. That's massive. Bucky, Creo, Kanata were just climbing up just outside the top 10, or just within it, actually now being taken out. That is so bad for them, as Knight's still alive and Shark's still alive on the front side of his zone as well. They're looking to do something big. They're in a key position right now to actually survive for quite some time.
And one thing I'm seeing set up right now, which is going to change the storyline a lot, we have Clix's team on high ground. And when they take high ground, it's really scary for any other team to take it, because Clix always goes ultimate high and really defends against those shockwaves. They do it so well, which gives up a little bit of that elimination power. They don't get as many eliminations as the other team on high ground. But now I'm looking at teams like Booger, who might then go for height, who are going to run into a lot of issues. So they're going to have to try and play this as a late high ground retake. They obviously don't have this information. We do. They're going to have to hopefully just maybe take a look at high ground and understand that, because if they go for it against that team, it's going to be very scary for them.
And Commandment finds another knock in the feed. Knight's going to find Tragics as well. Remember, Knight was on the front side of that zone line. Now it's going to pull the opposite way, so a nice little rotate from them is going to have to come out of it. How is it everyone's going to have to cross here? Look at the congestion. This is a very weird spot. Such a diverse spot compared to the way the last zone played out. Zuni's going to get fallen down there. The bounces are going to come out, and the elevation's so different, but the crash pad fine. Nice job for them. A free rotate granted literally right there. And Zuni's lands onto Divine with the drop kick. My gosh, way to find an Elam.
Oh, and Avery and Jamper take down Saf in the feed too, so they're making moves right now, and every single one of those eliminations matters. Our second, third, and fourth place team, they're here. They're ready to show up, and they want a big game, as Zuni's also just outside that top 5, trying to have a big jump up. So right now, TNA is nervous. They are sweating. They're watching all these teams have big games, and they have to watch from the sideline. This is going to come right down to the final game. Which of those teams is going to be able to jump up and show why they can push for first place here today?
Ooh, look at high ground, though. It's Zextro, Calculator, Backwood. That's a team that we haven't seen up there very often, and they're contesting Bizzle as Scented, finding some eliminations. Remember, if Scented, Edge, and Commandment, the more Elans they find, the closer to first place they get. The more that Reverse 2K, Miro, and Day have to sweat it out for the last game leading in. This is game number 5. Everyone still has an opportunity to overtake this game, overtake this entire series for what it's worth. On the front side, though, Stretch on the move here. 81 points today for this team. How good are they playing right now? Not even a victory royale, but still consistent here today.
They're coming back. I see Avery in the feed. I see Edgy. This is coming right down to the wire. I saw Booger's team setting up on that second height, so they might try and play spoiler here as Stretch is down on the low. We don't see this team